And I will say that I don't want to jump ahead in the process, but I will also say that this one did not have a happy ending. So close the deal. And a year later, we ripped them out. I think that the product reality didn't match the expectation that we had. So what we thought we were buying didn't end up materializing in a meaningful way.
Do you feel like the sales process was deceptive, or do you think you wish you would have done anything differently in your buying to uncover that, or do you think it was unavoidable?
Okay,
Right.
that was so good.
The whole series is about exploring how people's buying decision takes place from like the moment something becomes necessary to a
So
final
amazing.
decision.
Especially if you're like, well, we can do that too. It's like, why didn't we know that before? That would be helpful.
I was like, what I wouldn't have given to have this back then.
That's exactly the type of stuff I was hoping to hear out of these interviews. So cool.
This is Buyer Truths, a research project about how tech buyers make decisions and what it means for how you sell.
My name is Jen Allen Knuth from Demand Gen with a J, and I'm here with my partner, Drew Giovanelli from Buried Winds.
Oh, everybody knows you as the kindest guy on LinkedIn, open to help, open to help all. And it's almost shocking that you have a job also, don't you?
I have a few, yeah.
Yeah.
Where, yeah. I've got a day job.
And so today we're going to talk about something you bought recently, learn about how you think about buying to set the context for who you are. Tell us as much as you're comfortable with about kind of your team size, just the structure of how you might think about buying, right? Are you in a super constrained buying environment, team size, anything like that that could help us get a picture of who you are before we start talking about something you've bought?
Sure. So I wear a couple hats in my day job. I oversee marketing for a company that's roughly 1,800 people or so. And so the team, if you include the external agency that we kind of work with, right around 35, 40 people. And so I wear two hats. I oversee all of marketing for that portfolio of businesses. And then I also wear a startup founder hat. So I oversee our new ventures as well. And so on a daily basis, I'm an in-seat CMO, and where we've got, tens and hundreds of thousands of leads, we need to convert 10 to 12% of them. It's very much a machine, right? And then the other hat is we've got this startup and we've got to get scrappy and creative and nimble. And so I wear both of those hats on any given day. I've been in tech for about 15 years. I had a career before that in entertainment. So I've been around for a little while. I've bought a ton, predominantly marketing tech, over the years. So I've seen both good and bad and everything in between.
Awesome. Well, we're thrilled to have you on. Let's focus in on like one specific problem you had to solve that led to a purchase. What was that pain point, something that was motivating to get you to look for a new tool?
Sure. So I'll put my startup hat on, and we were looking for a technology platform that would allow us to build an ecosystem that, so web platform, we were looking at Headless CMS. And the idea was, okay, we've got some real engineering that needs to happen on the platform, and we also need speed and agility from a marketing perspective. So our marketers need to be able to move with independence. We don't need to be, I don't want to say dragged down by engineering, but there are certain things that our marketing team should be able to self-serve. And so we were looking for a headless CMS that could do both, that could be both heavy-duty engineering, but also WYSIWYG editing for marketers and allow us speed and agility.
Great. And then how did you choose what vendors you were going to include in the evaluation?
So our product and engineering team started with a good chunk of the research, and they brought forward, here are some candidates of technologies that we think would satisfy both. So they did a lot of the heavy lift on the front, and they brought back a half dozen candidates. We looked at all of them, and we eventually selected a finalist after going through some conversations with the vendors.
Awesome.
Just to clarify, was this something where you were starting out blank slate or you were replacing something? Okay, blank slate. Cool. That's what I thought.
So this was greenfield. This is in one of our little startups. And so it was our chance to do it right from the beginning. And so we didn't have a lot of the concerns around existing integrations, existing systems. We were building greenfield. And so we had the luxury of saying, if we had it to do over and if we had to pick the ideal tech that could work for all of us, what would it look like? And that's how we were kind of going into this evaluation process.
Did that engineering team take initial sales calls, or did they just do a bunch of research on their own, look at documentation and that sort before it brought to you? Like, when did the sales process and engagement start? And then we'll let Jen dig into the things she knows best.
So they did all the research initially. They didn't have any of the sales calls, but publicly available information. They compiled, as you would expect, maybe from an engineering team, very comprehensive spreadsheet of all the various factors, and you've got vendors and you've got capabilities, and it was pretty exhaustive. So they had already looked at maybe 20 different vendors and narrowed it down to 6 by the time that we started looking at the list. And there were maybe 3 that floated to the top in terms of, okay, this looks right. This looks like the capability that we need from supporting real code and supporting marketing flexibility and speed.
Okay, so let's talk about that moment, because this is the stuff we sellers never get to see. So you had a list that's brought to you. It's 20
Yeah.
vendors long.
Sure.
Bring it down to 6, bring it down to 3. How did that happen? Was that this is a 1-hour meeting, we're going to knock this out? Is this a series of meetings? Who were the people in the room? How many people? Like, tell us all the stuff we don't get to see.
Sure. So it was maybe less structured than you'd think. I mean, it's a startup, so it's not, or it's a new venture within our company,
Yeah.
right? So it's not as maybe rigorous as, hey, we've got an existing stack where we're supporting all of our customers and it's got to be right, and we have all these integrations. There were some disqualifiers right off the top. I mean, a lot of them were very code centric. So, great if you've got some highly capable technical marketers, but we didn't have that. So we had some technically savvy, but this was going to be a new platform for them anyway. And so part of the exclusion was right off the top, okay, very code forward, great platform, but can't do the two-sided thing, right? We want to be able to self-serve. And so that made the decisions actually pretty quick and easy on those. Then getting from the top 3 to the top 1 was a little bit more challenging because the 3 looked comparable, right? And so then we started getting on sales calls. I had the product team set those up, but then it was all stakeholders involved. And I think there were 4 of us really that were making the decision. And I will also say that I have such low tolerance. I mean, even though I've got a generally positive and sunny disposition.
You're the nicest guy in the world. You can say it. We know.
Yeah, sure. You said it, not me. I didn't say it.
Everybody says it.
But I also have such low tolerance for a lot of the performative nonsense that goes on in the sales processes. And so if I get a whiff of, like Jen, if I get a whiff of wee-wee, or if I get a whiff of thoughts, THOTS, I will disqualify a vendor so quickly, even if it might be the best tech. But, you look at technology today and feature parity is crazy. So for me, I'm judging I'm anticipating what the entire experience with that vendor is going to be based on the interactions with the sales team.
Okay.
And so if I feel like it's not going to be a great experience based on those early signals, that can be a make or break for me. And if somebody sends me an email that's just thoughts, I'm almost disqualifying them just right off of that email.
That's juicy. Okay, so let's talk about the 3 calls you set up. And if you can't, and this might have been a while ago, so if you can't remember, you can just be honest. But
yeah.
Do you remember when you set those 3 up? Was there any difference in the sales experience, even at the moment of just scheduling the call, or what you received prior to the call before we get into the sales interaction itself? Like when you talk about like the 3 products are kind of on parity, but like, was there any divide you could notice between the 3 different vendors?
This is Buyer Truths, a research project about how tech buyers make decisions and what it means for how you sell. We surveyed 172 software buyers across mid-market and enterprise about real decisions they made in the past year, and all of the data is ungated and free.
My name is Jen Allen Knuth from Demand Gen with a J, and I'm here with my partner, Drew Giovanelli from Buried Wins. After you've learned how buyers make decisions in 2026, let us help you win yours. If you're losing deals to competitors you should beat, Buried Wins will tell you why. They do win-loss interviews with buyers you lost, prospects who never even considered you, and even reach out to the former sellers of your competitors. Learn more at buriedwins.com.
And if you're losing to buyer status quo, Demand Gen will train your team to earn executive attention in outbound, lead status quo busting discovery conversations, and drive consensus with larger buying committees. Check out demandgenwithaj.com.
So I think, as silly as it sounds, I think that as buyers, we want to feel seen and valued.
Mhm.
We want to feel seen in that I don't want you selling me your product. I want you to help me solve my problem. And if you start talking about features, or if you don't do discovery upfront, or if you don't understand my specific problem, and you start talking about yourselves, you start talking about feature function, you're already losing. It's those where, they deeply understand me, what I'm trying to accomplish, what problem I'm trying to solve. And they come in with that mindset of, hey, Pete, hear you, and let's figure out how to solve this for you. And it's more of a partnership. The other thing I'll say is that some of the best sales processes I've ever been a part of have been about the fluidity of the orchestration. How easy is it to get calendars together? How easy is it to get people on the call? When we show up, you've done your homework, and we don't burn a whole call starting from ground zero on discovery, right? Do your homework before you get on the call. And the difference between those three was the fluidity of the process, of the experience, of the pre-work, of really understanding intimately what we were trying to accomplish. We had sent kind of our requirements ahead of time to the three vendors to say, here's what we're trying to accomplish. And so it was no surprise walking into those meetings of really, we were trying to understand what's the capability to serve both of those groups. And it's Sam McKenna's show me you know me kind of thing, like walk in, show me you know me. I really don't care so much about your product or your technology. I care about its ability to solve my problem. And that's what I'm hiring it to do. And so it is not I don't need to get vomited on from a selling me feature
Mhm.
function perspective. It's, can we get to a solution to my problem quickly?
Of those three vendors, did all three of them do that poorly? Like, how would you rank the three different vendors when it came to that first conversation, their ability to show you that they understood
I mean, there was a good, better, best.
Yeah.
And ultimately, the one who was best at orchestrating ultimately won the deal. And I will say that I don't want to jump ahead in the process, but I will also say that this one did not have a happy ending. So close the deal, and a year later, we ripped him out.
Mm.
And so we can get into that nuance, but I think it's really about how somebody shows up. And the best AEs I've met are those who just orchestrate, right? They don't sell, they orchestrate the process.
Can we touch on quickly the discovery call homework? Do
Yeah.
you expect them to come knowing deeply about your product line and you as a person and your market? Like, what is the, even if like good, even good, better, best? Like, what do you think gives you confidence in someone? What's the minimum you think they should show up as, and what does great look like?
Sure. I don't expect somebody to come in and intimately know me or my business. That's not what I expect.
Okay.
I expect that there's been some discovery done in terms of what we're trying to accomplish and what the problem is. What's the business problem we're trying to solve? And then align the process to helping me solve that problem. So no, I don't expect you to know I like cameras or yellow or anything like that, right? You could glance at my LinkedIn and get some of that, but it's really about knowing where to focus. My least favorite processes are when we come in and it's like, oh, well, tell me about ground up. Tell me about what does your company do? Okay. That can all be handled like this meeting should have been an email kind of thing.
This is going to sound like a silly question, but why does that bother you? To someone that, like, if you think about like a seller who's just getting into a sales job, we've all heard the question, like, ask about their company, ask about, be customer centric. Like, why as a buyer does that rub you the wrong way?
If they haven't done basic homework, I'm the type of buyer that will provide some of that in advance because I don't want to show up and waste an hour just, on that basic level set. So I will send a pre-read. I will send, here's the requirements. Probably not everybody does that. But if I'm talking about multiple meetings across multiple vendors, the time starts stacking up. And the kind of retelling the story over and over and over starts stacking up. And so I think, and maybe this is a silly little thing, but I think that there's so much power in helping people feel seen and valued. And it's something that I desperately try to do in my daily life, in open to help, in whatever I'm doing. I try to show up in a way that people feel like their time is valued, like they are valued. And if I don't feel that same, then for me at least, and this is just maybe a personal preference, but that rubs me the wrong way. If you haven't taken, and literally it takes 5 or 10 minutes worth of pre-read, look at my LinkedIn, try to get a level set, ask a couple qualifying questions on the front end. That's all I expect. I don't expect deep research.
I haven't heard too much of this, Jen. I don't know if you recommend it. Do you get much back and forth with vendors before the discovery call, like email questions? Like, hey, so I can come prepared, can you answer a few of these questions? Is that what you'd prefer and like, so you could show up more prepared?
I do. I like the pre-work. I want for our time on the call to be well spent. And so I want to do pre-work. I want to provide a pre-read. And I typically volunteer it even if somebody's not asking for it.
Sure.
So you mentioned you've got 4 people on these calls from your side. You have this discovery conversation with the rep. You hang up. What happens immediately after that between the 4 of you?
So we typically compile notes. We don't typically jump back on a call right away, but we compile our individual notes. I have a project manager who compiled all the notes, and then we'll get back together and talk through it. But we were only doing 3 vendors. And so it wasn't a super long process. And start to finish, we were probably looking at a couple weeks, realistically.
Okay. And was there at any point in that the 4 of you coming together and debriefing and sharing your takes on how the conversation went and what the product capabilities are, was there any point across those couple weeks where you had internal friction between the 4 of you?
Not really.
So alignment.
Yeah.
When you got down to those 3, was there a front runner in your mind? And did that end up being the one you chose after all the sales conversations?
Yes and yes. Yeah. And as I've hinted to, I think that the product reality didn't match the expectation that we had. So what we thought we were buying didn't end up materializing in a meaningful way.
Do you feel like the sales process was deceptive, or do you think you wish you would have done anything differently in your buying to uncover that, or do you think it was unavoidable?
I actually don't think it was the sales process. I don't think it was the product itself. I think it was actually onboarding.
Say more.
So complicated product needs a lot of configuration on the front end. And what we didn't fully understand was in order to get to that, that end state of engineering be able to engineer and marketing be able to market on the same kind of technology stack, there was a lot of configuration that needed to happen. And that configuration really didn't happen in a meaningful way, which meant that for the first 6 months of us being on the platform, we were having to rely on the engineering team to build everything. And so we didn't out of the gate have the capabilities we thought we would. And maybe in the sales process, there should have been an expectation setting. There should have been an identification of, oh, okay, if you guys are actually trying to do this where you're using the same platform and it's kind of two sides of the platform, here's what you're actually going to need. Here are the realities of configuration. You're going to have an initial code base that's going to be needed to actually get you to where you need to be. And then in the onboarding process, real rigor around making sure that, okay, there are some ways to short circuit this process. We can use some quick start. We can use some templated code to get us up and off the ground. But instead, we floundered for a while. And then there was frustration specifically from my side, that we just couldn't move fast enough. And it would be, okay, well, we can get you that functionality, but it's going to be 2 sprints. It's like basic stuff, guys. Like, oh, if you want a rich text editor, okay, it's going to be 2 sprints to do that. Like, what are you talking about?
Yeah.
Where was that platform that we talked about where we could just, like, it looked so effortless. And, it's one of those things, if you've ever been to a Dreamforce and you sat in one of those keynotes and you've looked at it and you go like, oh my gosh, it looks so easy. I need this thing, right? You come home from Dreamforce, you ink a deal with your Salesforce rep, and then it's like on to onboarding. It's like, wait a second, this is nowhere near as easy as it looked like on the Dreamforce stage.
The dream.
And it's kind of the dream force. So that happens a lot. I think that there's this kind of mismatch. If you make it look too easy in the sales process, you set the wrong expectation for the rest of the experience.
So in some cases, the seller stays on and manages the relationship. In others, there's a handoff.
Yeah.
For this buying experience you're talking about, which one was it? Was the seller, did they continue to be involved? And if it was handed off, did the seller that sold you on this ever come back into the conversation once you hit that friction in onboarding?
It was handed off.
Okay.
They did come back, but only when things were already going off the rails. And so it was a kind of a reactive, not a proactive return to make sure that we were where we needed to be. Then we discovered that, oh, well, actually, there's a different licensing configuration. There's an enterprise license that would have unlocked a bunch more features. Like, okay, well, that would have been good to know in the sales process.
Now, you ripped it out.
Yeah.
Did you go back to an evaluation process to look at new tools? And did you go back to one of the 2 you had already evaluated?
So here's the thing that's really interesting.
Pardon the interruption, but if you're enjoying this podcast, I think you're going to love the full research report where we surveyed 172 buyers to understand how software is evaluated and what it means for how you sell. These are all people who have formally evaluated at least one new vendor in the past year, made a purchase, and majority of them over $50K. Now, these people are half enterprise buyers, half mid-market buyers, also half technical and half business roles. We go into topics like what happens when there's an AI mandate to drive the deal, why do people stay with vendors that they know are worse than their existing solution, and what breaks a tie when there are 2 finalists neck and neck. I'd love for you to check it out. You can visit buyertruths.com. Now back to the pod.
So we went back, we tried to recover it. We met with the engineering team. We brought in some of their tech resources. We looked at, okay, what behavior are you seeing? Like what's not working? And then it was, okay, looks like there's a path forward. Looks like there's a way to save this thing. Let's get together. Let's get some of your tech resources. Let's do some more sessions around making sure that we're configured properly. And it took so long for the follow-up from those conversations that I started looking at other options. And in the process, and guys, I would consider myself a very technical marketer, but I have very little experience in code. And I started being like, well, I wonder what I can build. So this was a personal challenge. This was like, I'm just going to see what I can do. And I had been experimenting a little bit with building some apps. And I said, well, okay, part of what we're doing in that ecosystem is we've got on the front end, we've got some lead magnets where we bring people into the ecosystem. And it's really, kind of calculator and tool driven. I wonder if I can build one of those tools. And I was thinking about it as maybe I could build one of those tools, embed it in WordPress, and then we wouldn't maybe need a full stack, right? And then I started building and building and building. And now we're to the point where I've re-architected the entire thing from the ground up, full stack, CMS, integrated CRM, integrated landing page builder, and role-based access management, and content, like the whole thing. It's not just like one tool. I've rebuilt the entire platform, and I don't know, like I am actually sincerely worried about some GTM tech vendors, because if there's a 3-week delay and somebody starts building and starts to discover, oh my gosh, I can actually build this thing. Now it's not as easy as that, obviously. Like we're not vibe coding our way to building Salesforce, but I built a full stack front and back end tool that is productionalized, and I did it in the matter of 4 weeks. I didn't intend to do that. Like CMO hand to keyboard is not the place that I want to be living. It's not the place that I think I add the most value. And we're decommissioning that old tech.
Have you shared that with them yet?
No.
I hope they're not watching. How do you anticipate that conversation will go? Or maybe a better question is, how do you hope that conversation will go with the team that's supporting you?
The vendor team? I don't know. It'll be an interesting conversation. I think, again, I was not shy about saying, here are the gaps, and we need to fill the gaps. And then following up with, hey guys, I thought that we were going to get some time on the calendar to get our teams together to fill these gaps. So I actually don't think it's going to be surprising at all.
Yeah.
And then to the 2 vendors you didn't choose in the initial evaluation, how much feedback did they ask for, and did you provide about your end decision?
They didn't actually ask for much. I think we maybe had 2 calls with each. And I think that I was pretty clear on those calls of like where we were going, and that we had basically made a selection,
Cool.
but they didn't ask for much. And honestly, they also weren't orchestrating very much either. So
Yeah.
I don't
Well,
know that I was terribly surprised that they didn't ask for feedback.
sure. Pete, we're at the end of our time. It's flown
Already?
by because it's been fun.
Guys, we just started hanging out.
I know. I know.
Appreciate you both so much.
Thank
And
you.
thanks for inviting me. Hopefully there was some nugget in there that was worthwhile.
Absolutely, Pete. It's great to see you. I hope we get to
Great
see you in
see you.
person again this year.
Pardon the interruption, but if there's one cause I love even more than helping sellers win, it's helping rescue dogs like Chungus find a home. Many Paws Global Rescue is located in Palatine, Illinois, and takes in rescue dogs of all shapes, even as thick as this, and sizes. If you're looking for a new pup to sit under your desk and help you win deals, visit manypawsglobalrescue.org.